Hey everybody, Mark here. And before you start this episode, I want to give you a fair warning that we experienced some technical difficulties throughout the show. So you'll be experiencing them in real time. We're still trying to figure out this whole podcast thing. Our setup is changing by the episode, so we apologize. And with that said, I hope you enjoy this episode of the Button Press Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Button Press Podcast. Today, I'm back here with my brother Erik, and we're going to be giving our thoughts on the state of play that just happened on February 12th, 2026. To put a date on this, I think there's a lot of exciting things that surprised us, and I think we're going to have some contradicting opinions to a lot of the other people who watched and enjoyed.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that I feel like we're gonna say, like I can tell you right now, I know I'm gonna say some things that will kind of go against the grain of what most people probably feel like, and like I always say, this is just our opinions. It doesn't mean we're right. In fact, we may even be wrong, but we're just talking about the things we like and kind of what we got from this. So. Yeah, take everything with a grain of salt. If we like something that you don't like, totally cool, and vice versa. So, we hope that you at least hang around and listen and enjoy the show.
Yeah, so. I think we have, from each other, we have very different tastes in games.
Yeah.
But our tastes also vary a lot from, I feel like, the general group of gamers that enjoy a lot of the games that were announced or just talked about at the state of play, which is why our opinions may be a little controversial, I guess, to a degree.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's the right word. I just don't think that. Listen, I think that there's stuff on here that people, like the majority of people, will love, and we may kind of bash it a little bit. And it's not out of, we don't mean anything by it, right? We're not trying to, put anyone down if they like something that we don't like. It's just we have particular preferences as well as all of you. So
yeah, and at the end of the day, I think we both hope that every single game that comes out here is awesome and is enjoyed by the people who choose to play them.
Listen, a successful game is good for the industry. So, I hope all of these games do well. I hope everyone who gets them enjoys them and get everything they want out of them. And that's it. So,
yep. With that said, I think we should roll on right into the state of play and talk about the very first game that they showed off. Mm-hmm. At State of Play, which is Kena Scars of Cosmora. This game, before I say anything else, is absolutely stunning. I think the graphics are amazing. It's on the level of Pixar and Disney, and it just feels so alive just from the cinematics. I know this is a sequel to the 2021 Kena Bridge of Spirits game, which I myself didn't play, but when it was being announced, I had some interest in that too. What are your overall thoughts on this game right now?
So the last time I was here, I think I gave people a pretty good idea of the things I like. Fantasy was not very high on my list. Mm-hmm. I will say for a fantasy game, this is what I want. It looks super fun, super colorful, vibrant. It does a good job. The trailer shows a good job of, the different landscapes that you can go to, the different creatures. It felt unique, but also familiar. The color palette and everything, the bright, vibrant colors really stuck out to me. It reminded me almost of like a bygone era of like, the Spyro the Dragon and Jak and Daxter and like all those kind of games where they were like these fantasy games but had like a level of cartoonism, if that's a word, to it, where it's like, it's vibrant and fun, but also has some serious tones as far as story. But it's at the end of the day, it's not your typical like doom and gloom fantasy game. The gameplay looks super cool. I didn't play the first one. I know very little about these games. I could tell you from what I see now, I'm intrigued. I can't say that I'm going to run home and play the first game tonight, but it's definitely something that has piqued my interest that I want to check out.
Yeah, and I know with the first game, a complaint that a lot of people had, which is kind of what turned me away from the game when it released, was that the gameplay was just very, very shallow. Combat didn't really expand as much as people wanted it to, and they made it a point in their presentation that because of the new partnership with PlayStation and Sony, that it allowed them to develop that side of the game a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And speaking of which, it's now an exclusive to PlayStation and PC, I believe, which was not the case for the first game, which doesn't bother me. I'm a PlayStation guy and a Nintendo Switch guy. I don't have any Xbox consoles that I really use or keep up with.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a 360 laying around here somewhere, but that's about it. With these kinds of fantasy games where, I don't even know what this game is about, right? The point of the trailer is to get me hooked, and sometimes I feel like a lot of these games, they show a lot of cool imagery and cool combat, and like this one in particular, I didn't get a whole lot of story from this, but it's still kind of looped me in, you know?
And we got a lot of gameplay with it too. Like that's important, I think.
I think so too. With these types of fantasy games that I'm not usually drawn to, one of the things that I call it my action figure test, right? If I see characters and enemies and creatures and I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Like if I had an action figure of that, I would love to display something like that on my on my desk or on my shelf. And I think this kind of gets there for me, where it's, if I had a statue of Kana riding this creature, this wolf thing, like I said, I don't know much about the game, so I might be just sounding like someone's old uncle, talking about video games. But, I want to know more. Like if I had a statue of her riding this creature and it was on my desk, it would be so cool. Some of the things that I liked is, in the trailer, you see her grab this staff, and then, she's using it in combat, and then it cuts to a later clip of combat, and all of a sudden the staff turns into a bow, and she's drawing it back and firing arrows at an enemy. I'm like, that's cool. That's something that's unique, and it's a little bit more than your typical like hack and slash, like, big combat type stuff. And
I know that bow is like right up your like that's your thing, like archery.
Yeah,
if there's archery in a game, there's a good chance that you're gonna at least give it a try.
And really, like, I'm that simple. Where it's like, if I see something as simple as that, like, I think archery is cool, right? Like typical fantasy games that I have played. Like there was a time where I played a ton of Skyrim, and my character had a bow. I'm maxing out all my stats on that, and that's just like the gameplay style I like. So we've all seen Lord of the Rings. We've seen Legolas and how cool he was, and the Avengers with Hawkeye, and like something about like the silhouette of a character like grabbing an arrow and pulling back a bow. Like it was always just that was so cool to me. Like almost cooler than like a character charging with like a broadsword. Like the bow is so that hooked me.
Got finesse. Like it's.
Yeah, it's
also like I feel like a lot of the characters that do wield these bows, like that it's a part of who they are, and it's like an extension of their character. And a lot of times when developers or people or like directors give characters bows, I feel like it's for a reason, and it's supposed to pin that character as a specific character, like as a specific character in the story.
Yeah, and it just gives you an option. Right? Like you get the opportunity to, damage your enemies from distance, right? Or you can get in close, use your staff, where a lot of like big like hack and slash games where you're just in like a sea of enemies and you're just swooping and slashing, and that's cool. But for me, I can only do that so long. So to have different options when engaging in combat in video games, I think is a big thing for me to kind of keep me interested.
Yeah, and one final note on Kana that I think is a big plus that is they did drop a 2026 release window. I tried to stay on track of all of the release dates for all these titles. Mm-hmm. I don't think I got every single one of them, but this one was pinned as a 2026 release, which if it comes out at the right time, there's a good chance that I could be picking it up.
Yeah. I don't know if I can necessarily say the same. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm going to go out and buy it, at launch. I could tell you if you get it, I will definitely hang out with you while you play it. That I can commit to. And this is something that, like, I wouldn't be against this universe expanding, I don't know how many hours I'd want to sink into this game, but if they made it like a limited Netflix series, I think I'd be way into that, you know? So.
Absolutely. Well, moving on from Kana, the next game that was shown, well, we're not going through every single game that was shown, just kind of what piqued our interest, but the next one that we're going to talk about is 4-Loop. First of all, I'm going to say this right off the rip. Looter shooters are not my favorite genre of games. Stuff like Tarkov and Arc Raiders, something about them just doesn't pull me in like a lot of other multiplayer games.
Sure, yeah.
But 4-Loop does have some qualities that I think might have me giving it a chance, depending on if friends buy it alongside me, because I can't see myself playing this game alone.
No. And that was the big thing with looter shooters in particular. When The Division came out, a bunch of my friends had gotten that, and we played it for a while, and I really enjoyed it. But what I realized is, slowly as members of the party kind of fell off, and I had less and less people to play with, that slowly pulled me out of it, So I think it's definitely something that it's not so much like what I'm doing in the game, more as like who am I playing with.
That's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, this game right off the rip, I can tell you the trailer wasn't like, this is the kind of thing that I see, and maybe for me it feels a little bit too out there in terms of fantasy, and like it's, I don't really know what's going on. Like, what kind of world are we in?
It's very sci-fi, like aliens.
Yeah, which is very hit or miss for me in general. I will say there was the one part where they were talking about the boss fight, and they had that laser grid thing going.
And like the big cube floating above them, and it was like a puzzle that was a boss.
So that was pretty interesting, and like that particular part of the trailer when they were like these laser grids kind of slowly moving, and you having to dodge those and fight this thing from all different angles. That's something that, like, if most of the game was that, I feel like I'd even be more interested. It almost seems like if that was like a mini game that we could just do different versions of that particular setting. Yeah. I'd have a lot of interest in that. But again, looter shooters, not super high on my list. I've tried them, right? Like, I liked Helldivers for a little bit, and then as the group stopped playing that, I did as well. I barely scratched the surface of Arc Raiders. And again, the little bit that I played, I enjoyed. But there was, for me, there was a little bit of like generic, it was, you got some equipment, and it's like these weapons that are unique to this world. And it was like, they're cool and everything, but I don't know, nothing stuck with me as far as like, this is a world that I want to keep going back to necessarily. Yeah,
one of my notes on the top of my list for 4-Loop was that the characters just look bland as hell.
Yeah.
And I think the atmosphere around them looks phenomenal. The stuff exploding, the drop pods coming in, like the gunplay with like paired with that looks fun. Yeah. But the characters look so generic and so default. I'm assuming they're customizable in some way, but like if they don't differ too much from what we've seen in the trailer, character design is very low on the scale for me.
Yeah, it's almost as if like if this was a sole like first person shooter, that might not be as big of an issue. I feel like when I'm playing third person games, like Uncharted, Last of Us, Jedi Fallen Order, right? Like the character that you're seeing on the screen, like matters, right? And you want it to be like, you want it to have that main character vibe to him where it's you're seeing him and it's meaningful, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like, the guy on the poster is the guy you're seeing. So sometimes when it's like generic custom characters, and again, this is a trailer, so I'm sure you can run wild with all sorts of customization stuff. But again, it's like, to me, this feels a little, Arc Raider-ish, where you've got this backpack and it's, in particular, like I have the trailer up here now and I'm looking at a freeze frame, and the backpack is a hard frame where you can put equipment on, and I'm like, that's pretty much exactly what Arc Raiders was. And again, I'm not saying that this won't be enjoyable. I'm just saying that for me, those games I have a hard time giving them my interest for a long time.
There's two things that did stick out in the trailer that kept me intrigued. The first was the idea of like the story behind it. They didn't go too in depth about it, but the idea of it's 4 people, or at least this is what I got from it. It's 4 people being like put into simulations on how to save the world, and when they die, they get reprinted.
Yes.
As like they get 3D printed almost, and they get put right back in.
Yeah.
Which that sounds like a good movie plot, honestly.
Yeah.
But that was interesting. And then the one thing they showed, which I think looked like a hell of a lot of fun, was the blink berries that the guy used in the trailer. They were like, oh, you could pick it from this plant, and you could throw it at something, and whatever it hits, it teleports that creature or that enemy to a random location far off in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
But I really hope that you could like throw it at your friends in that game, because I think that's gonna make for so many fun like clips. But also, if your friend is about to get absolutely mauled by a boss, if you chuck one of these berries and it hits your friends and he bloops the other side of the map, or not all the way to the other side of the map, but the other side of the battlefield, that could be really freaking cool.
Yeah. And again, I'm looking at a part of the trailer here where like it seems like there's some giant octopus-like creatures floating, and and again, for me, that action figure test I was talking about, they're cool, but they feel a little like what are they? I would need to know a little bit more to see if I'm like, oh, that's actually a cool design, cool thing. I think this game has the potential to do really well and get a big following. I can't off the jump say like, yeah, I'm gonna be a part of this game.
Yeah, and it's not confirmed for 2026, so maybe it's a little far out, and they'll tweak some things that we'll like, and maybe we'll pique our interest a little bit more. But as of right now, I am on the fence with that game. Like I don't think I'm gonna run out and get it first day, but I do want to enjoy it from a distance, and like I could see a lot of clips and fun moments coming out of the game.
Yeah. What's interesting about it too is like just again watching it here, it has that like futuristic sci-fi feeling where it's like, you don't expect to necessarily see normal items like of this world. But like I'm looking at some of the weapons and the guns that they use, and they are real world guns. They're not like these laser cannons that look like generic, giant Nerf gun style things that are shooting these plasma blasts that that are completely fantasy. Like it looks somewhat like I said, based in realism. There was one scene here that I was just looking at. They're fighting in like a parking garage, and there's just normal cars, and so it's interesting to kind of see the blend of those two things. And who knows, maybe I'll end up seeing some clips of it once it comes out, and I'll say, wait, this actually looks more up my alley than I thought. But only time will tell.
Yep. And with that, we are going to move on to the next game. I don't know if this was the next one on the that was revealed in the State of Play, but I threw this on the list because I feel like it's worth talking about because everybody's talking about it. This might be the hottest game of the year right now in the first 6 months, and that's Resident Evil Requiem, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So for you watching, me and Eric don't really partake in the Resident Evil franchise at the moment, but we both have said we are very interested in getting into it. It's hard to get excited for games in a franchise that you're not caught up in, but this game has absolutely done that. I think what they've shown so far, the gameplay looks so much fun. the combat where Leon's walking through the street, and I think he has a crowbar at one point. That like hit the nail on the head of what I want from a game like this. It's horror, it's action, and I know it's beloved by so many people and might have one of the biggest fan bases in the video game space.
Yeah. So again, horror is not necessarily one of my go-to genres for games. Like you played some Phasmophobia, and I've tried playing that with you, and to me, like I just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of fun. It led to some funny moments, but like that's not the intended purpose of the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to be a horror game, and of course, like every game we always do things that are not, of its intended purpose, just for the sake of fun, which is totally fine. But I just found it like boring, right? So like horror has never really been my thing. When we, like in the last episode, we talked a little bit about how we got so deep into Five Nights at Freddy's. And again, a large part of that was we were doing it together.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have that, camaraderie of playing this game and theorizing about the story, and like, I don't know if I would have been able to get to that level of enjoyment just playing through those on my own.
Yeah. From what I understand, the horror aspect of Resident Evil is like lowercase horror, unless you're playing some of the first-person games, like I think Resident Evil Village and 7. But like the ones with Leon, like they're very much like action with horror attached onto it.
100%. Yeah. Real quick, I want to say everything I saw in this trailer, I liked.
Yeah.
I feel like for both of us, Resident Evil has always been a thing that's like just been over the horizon of like, we want to get into it, we want to play it, and there's a big, I know for me, and I think you particularly as well, like this looks really cool, but I also feel a duty to go back and play the other ones first.
Yeah.
I don't know
absolutely.
how connected they really are, but like there's that like completionist thing to it, as well as like, I want to know everything.
Yeah, I think they are very much connected. Some of them probably stray a little further than others, but like the Leon that is in Resident Evil 2 and 4, it's the same Leon. It's a continuation of his story.
Yeah.
I think the girl that's in the new one is the daughter of like a character from Resident Evil 7 or Village.
Okay.
So like there is a connecting story.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, like those games that don't feature Leon,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how connected those are to Leon's story, but the overarching world of Resident Evil, I think, evolves with each game.
Sure. And I think that the history of Resident Evil, this game has been around for how many years now, or this franchise, I should say. And, there's a part of it too that like growing up, right? These games had some violence or some, where it was like, we would go to the store and we'd go looking in the video game section, and there was an aspect of like, okay, like mom won't let me get this game because it's got violence or whatever, you know.
So then we just bought GTA probably.
Yeah, right. We had to go to our friend's house whose parents would let us play that game. But so there was like, we missed it and we didn't get, it's not that we ever tried it and didn't get into it. It was more so, we just missed the train, it was
For sure.
And I think a part of the reason that we haven't gone back is because, again, if I'm going to get into this, I want to get into it with everything.
Yeah.
I want to know everything that's led up to this point, and that could be a big meal, as it were, in terms of like that's going to take some time.
This is Resident Evil 9, but honestly, they're making it so easy to catch up because, I think 1 through 4 have modern remakes already.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if 3 does. I know 1, 2, and 4 all have modern remakes that people love. It's like up to date. It's if any of those games drag because of their age, which I don't think they do, that's remedied by just playing these remakes that they've released.
Sure, absolutely. And it's one of those things that like, if any of you guys out there are big Resident Evil fans, like drop a comment or something, we'd love to hear your guys' opinions. Like, get us hyped. Tell us something about it that we may not know, because I think we're long overdue.
Yeah.
We're long overdue, and it's just about taking the leap,
Absolutely,
So I'm looking forward to this, but more importantly, I'm looking forward to dipping my toe into the world of Resident Evil, and it's big. And again, that's kind of the intimidating part. Like, I know there's movies. Do those have anything to do with what we need to know, or part of anything? Maybe not. I don't even know like the general consensus on like those movies. Like, are the people who are fan of the games, do they hate those? I feel like they've made a lot of them.
They probably hate them.
Not
That's not anything against Resident Evil fans, but that's just something against video game movies.
Right. You know, again, we're absolute stands for Uncharted, and I enjoyed the movie a little more than you did, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. You know, I also talked a little bit about how there are some games that I may enjoy watching more than actually playing. So this is something that I may go watch a playthrough of a couple of the games on YouTube. So that way I can kind of, you know, kick back, relax, mindlessly enjoy the story and do that. And then as we get to some of this later stuff, maybe I'll jump in and go hands-on and actually play and experience them for myself. It's just about taking the leap and trying to digest all of this, you know, this vast world that's out there.
Yeah, and by the looks of this game, I think this is the game that's going to tip me over the edge and have me playing these games by the end of this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Next game, this game I'm actually super excited about. We were having a small conversation before the pod about this, and we watched a trailer together, and that's going to be Crimson Moon. This game just looks like awesome 2-player co-op fun. The metal, the rock music that's playing, and the blood flying everywhere, like it makes me feel like this is like the 80s, like fantasy, like metal rock, hardcore, almost like D&D a little bit, but with a touch of like Dark Souls-ish energy. Yeah. And honestly, this game looked cool to me. And then when I found out that it was 2-player co-op, that is what made it like jump to the top of my list from the state of play. Yeah. I think it looks fun. I think the combat looks super engaging. And I could see me and you playing this game on release, possibly.
Yeah, and this is one that when I saw it, right, like again, fantasy, not atop my list. I promise that's maybe the last time I say this in this episode. Probably not. But the giant metal suits of armor, where I kind of look at it and I'm like, this character is moving in a way that's a little weird, and like he's wearing a suit of armor that is so impossibly wearable as like a human. Like, you know, you have 200 pounds of metal on you. Like, how are you swinging and slashing? And like, again, those are things that like, why do I even think about that? But I do, and it's just not necessarily my thing. But this one, immediately, I was like, okay, this is cool. And again, that what I was just talking about, what I don't normally like, the hack and slash, it looks like this has a lot of that. Like I was hooked instantly watching this trailer. Again, the 2-player co-op, you instantly think like we're gonna do this together. Yeah. And again, maybe that's like subconsciously what I liked about this was not so much what I was seeing, but just knowing the experience that we will have together playing it is what drew me in. And which is totally like a crazy thought. Like, how many games like would I be interested in if it was a 2-player co-op versus like a single-player story? You know.
And I'll be honest, that last scene of the trailer, with the two of them like standing shoulder to shoulder, like the one like looks over at the other, that was like the exclamation point at the end of this trailer that just made me go crazy for it. Yeah. It felt like it was like a brothership between the two. And like I said, like that mixed with the music, the atmosphere was just sold to me perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this passes my action figure test. Like, these two characters, I don't even know their names. I don't know their backstory, but
I think they're angels of some sort. They're like half angels.
Yeah, that's what it said. And whatever it may be, like, bring it on. You know, yeah. If I had a statue of these two sitting on my shelf, I would display it proudly. I'd enjoy it. And that's, again, I'm a character-driven guy. Which, you know, we talked a little bit about that with 4 Loop, where it was like, I'm not really feeling these characters, and you know. But these guys, I'm like, dude, full send. The camera beeped. You want to just check that real quick? So we had a little bit of technical difficulty. Bear with us because we are using a different camera. The first couple episodes were filmed on an iPhone. Now we're using an actual camera. So we're still getting the hang of everything.
The setup is evolving with every episode and
Yeah.
changing. We're trying to figure out what works best.
And on top of that, we don't necessarily know exactly what we are doing. So, and this is a good point to put out a quick, PSA to any of you guys who, have thought about doing something like this yourself. Just do it. Just do it with whatever you have, whatever equipment, whatever, set you have, right? We're sitting in front of like a folding table on folding chairs.
Yep.
But just do it. Just start. And
even if you just have AirPods and you do it from the front seat of your car, not while you're driving, but obviously,
yeah.
But do it while you're sitting in your car. I've seen plenty of people do that, and it's all about the conversations you have, not the $500 microphone that sits in front of you.
Yeah. So just start, and if you run into problems, just keep going, persevere, power through, and if you're having fun and you're having good conversations, you'll enjoy it regardless.
Yeah.
And then everything else on the back end you figure out, which is kind of what we're doing. So, sorry for that, but we appreciate you guys bearing through it with us. So,
yeah. So we were talking about Crimson Moon. I think we're kind of getting to the end of our conversation about it.
Yeah, I think so.
This game, I will say, this game slapped a 2026 release date on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sold on it.
Yeah.
I'll get it. Maybe not on day one, but I'll pick it up in the future. It seems like a super, super fun 2-player co-op experience, which you don't see a lot of those these days.
No. And if you do, it is a sole dedicated, It Takes Two or something like that.
I mean, those are some of the best to do it.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed those games so much. The developers escaping me.
Hazelight Studios.
Yes. So those are amazing. But you need someone else. And the game is designed around playing co-op. This looks like you can maybe go either way. Or maybe not. I'm not sure. But just to recap, I don't know where the initial video and audio had cut out, but I'm super stoked for this one. I know you are too, and I'm glad that this is something outside of my normal realm that I'm excited about.
Yeah. All right. The next game, the conversation on this one I think is going to be brief. Both of us, I don't think are sold on this game. I don't think we have a lot of interest in it, but the reason I wanted to talk about it, which the game I'm talking about is Beasts of Reincarnation is the title. It's because of the developer. Game Freak is making it. I'm just interested to see what Game Freak can do besides Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think
I was going to say, for all I know, maybe they've been doing a bunch that I just haven't been on top of and whatever. But same thing. When I saw that, I was like, hey, the last time I remember seeing that was on a Pokemon game.
Yeah, and that's what they're most associated with, for sure. And this brand new game, not exclusive to Nintendo. I'm kind of excited to see what they can do when they're let out of their cage and can develop a game. But this is definitely a game that I am going to witness from a distance and probably maybe watch a few videos, but it doesn't look like something that I would personally play.
Yeah, again, this is, watching this, it felt like something we've seen before. If you are on the computer or your phone and you have the state of play pulled up, at the 23-minute and 54-second mark, I have it paused right here on mine. They're in some sort of vehicle, and there's a vast landscape, and it looks like there was once a structure there that is now there no longer, and you kind of see the remains of that. It's one of those things where you see in this trailer, from what I gathered, it looks like you have some sort of wolf companion, but a lot of hack and slash of enemies that to me didn't look super interesting. It looks like it'll be a good game visually, but maybe not something super unique in my opinion of other games I've seen.
Not enough Pikachu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it looks cool. I hope everyone who gets it enjoys it. And like you, maybe I'll check out some clips here and there and see if there's something in there for me. But at face value, I don't think this is something that necessarily drew me in.
Yeah, same. So next, I think is the game that took me the most by surprise in this state of play. And now looking at the list right after this game, it's just banger after banger for us to talk about. But this game, Project Winless, this is my first time hearing of it. I'm pretty sure it was announced at the state of play. If not, like I said, this is my first exposure to it. And
before we jump into that, before they showed that, they showed this game, Mina the Hollower.
Oh, yeah. I did have that in my notes for a little bit, but I was like, I don't know if I'm unsure about it.
Yeah, all really the only thing I have to say about it is that I love that it's it looks old, right? Like it looks retro. They didn't try to do like a half and half, like, oh, this is the modern retro, or I heard this term on a YouTube channel, so I can't coin it as something I came up with. But a lot of games try to do the new nostalgia, where they make something new, but almost as if it's trying to recreate something old and try to tap into that nostalgia aspect, but it's not quite there. This looks like something old, and even the soundtrack, they were playing like that retro music, and I don't know. I just thought it looked cool. I don't know if I'll check it out, but I definitely think that this is something unique and cool.
It's made by the same people who made Shovel Knight as well, so it's sure to be good. It's going to be quality.
Compared to everything else I saw in the state of play, this kind of stuck out as, oh, this is actually a little different, and I think this is something that would be pretty enjoyable. I think at one point they had said something like it's a true tribute to the world of handheld gaming, or they referenced handheld, and I was like, oh, that's neat. That's something that in the landscape of gaming today, I just don't know how many people are doing that. Maybe they're out there. Like I said, I don't claim to know everything, but
this is definitely the most exposed version of this kind of dedication to the handheld games, or just retro games in general.
Yeah. So that's really all I had to say about it. The visuals look cool. It looks like something that if it was up on my screen, I would immediately say like, "Ooh, what is this? This is neat." I enjoyed the imagery. I enjoyed the visuals of it. So I didn't want to just. I don't have too much to say, but I didn't want to just glance over it. That one looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. So on to Project Winless. This game, when I first saw it, took me by surprise. It looks very much like Dynasty Warriors or Hyrule Warriors, where you're running through these fields of enemies, just slashing them all down with like giant weapons, which already is such a cool concept. But the second the camera turned and I realized that you're playing as a giant muscular chicken, it pulled my attention harder than most games in this entire state of play.
Yeah. I think, again, broken record here, but that action figure test of like, whoa, who is this character? And again, even if I knew nothing about him and I just saw an action figure of this guy, like as a kid, I'd be like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it hit me.
There's no other animal people in the trailer, is there? I think it's just this giant chicken dude slicing down like it looks like undead people almost.
Yeah. My Instagram algorithm is filled with tons of slop and garbage, as you know, because I send a lot of it to you.
I do get a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, just stupid rumors of it'll be something like, hey, this game is in development, and then you read the caption and it's like a source heard from a somewhat reliable source that it's in development. And it's like, okay, this is just clickbait. But this popped up on my Instagram, and like the headline of the article was like, new game coming out based on whatever it was, the Japanese Lord of the Rings or something like that, where it was like the Lord of the Rings story from a different point of view. Not that it's directly based on Lord of the Rings,
Right.
but
maybe inspired. To a
yeah,
degree
like however you want to put it. But so that was kind of interesting. Again, I don't know how true that is. I didn't even take the time to see who wrote that article or what what publisher put that out. But it's cool, and I think this is one that I could see myself playing, and regardless of the story, it feels like you can just pop this on and just slay dudes for like an hour or two, and then just say, all right, I had my fun. I'm gonna jump off. But I'm intrigued to see what the story is.
Yeah. There was tons and tons of gameplay in that trailer, which is always a good sign to see. Usually hints to maybe a sooner release. I don't know if they dropped a date on that game. I don't know if you could skip to the end of its trailer and see.
Yep, I will work on that. Also, one of the cool things...
I'm hoping it's a 2026 release.
Yeah, one of the cool things, I think, for the majority of this trailer, the character seems to carry 2 swords, and there's certain clips where he can like connect them at the bottom of the hilts and use it as like a sword staff type deal, like awesome. The Thanos thing.
So
there's clips of him throwing it, and but there's also clips of him using other weapons. There was one here where he had like some sort of large sword, and it was like a double handle and almost like a giant cleaver.
Yeah.
And he's like slashing through dudes with that, and
him just standing on top of the mountain at the end is so good.
Yeah. Let me work on seeing what the release date was. There's a clip of he's holding on to like some sort of giant insect and flying through the world. Just awesome imagery, awesome combat.
I didn't know it was a deep down dream to be a giant chicken and slice down a bunch of undead dudes, but like I'm there.
I'm excited for the memes of like whatever the final boss of this game is. Like when he steps into that arena.
Is it gonna be Colonel Sanders?
No, it's gonna be Peter Griffin.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
So
this is the origin story of the chicken.
The origin story of the chicken from Family Guy. But no, this one looks cool. Again, I feel like I'm contradicting myself because I talk about how I don't like necessarily the big like hack and slash games, but this one feels cool to me. This one feels, like something I would check out. I don't actually see a date on here.
Perhaps there wasn't one. I don't know if they're.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they put anything out.
They didn't put a date on everything.
On everything.
Yeah.
The Project Windless may also be a working title, so who knows how far out we actually are from getting this.
It's a good point.
So I can't wait to see more from this and dive into it at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a day one for me, for sure. Next game, which this is funny that we're talking about this because I feel like this is a franchise that we dunk on a lot. Because we were the biggest fans of this franchise, but I'm talking about Star Wars Galactic Racer. Was not expecting something like this to come from a state of play. This came out of nowhere for me. How are you feeling about this? Because I definitely have some things to say.
Yeah. Racing games, not usually at the top of my list, unless it's something like Mario Kart or something like that, where I have separate interests. Right, I love Nintendo. I love the world of Mario. So because it's those characters and those worlds, I like it a little bit more by default. Star Wars, as you know, used to be a lot bigger of a fan. I've kind of fallen off. I'm not going to get into the whole, the state of Star Wars right now. I think for me personally, the reason I kind of fell off is because Star Wars, where it stands with me right now, the most interest I have is the stuff that has nothing to do with a Skywalker.
Yeah.
If you take them out of it and it's just a completely separate thing, it's more likely I'm going to be interested.
I think that's why Star Wars, for the most part, is shining so brightly in like the video game world with the Jedi games.
Yeah, and you can argue, like Darth Vader is present in those games, and that's fine. That's just about as much as I want right now. It seems like it's going to be something completely detached. Maybe we'll get some new planets. Maybe we'll get some new things places we've never seen before. Again, I don't know how much the racing aspect of it will keep me interested, but yeah, I'm excited to see new Star Wars stuff. Like I said, especially that's kind of different from what we've seen. When was the last time we got a Star Wars racing game? Was that Pod Racers on 64?
I'm not entirely sure about that.
Yeah.
But so that's a point that I want to bring up is like those older Star Wars games, like Pod Racing on 64. It feels so Star Wars. This game, the only thing that feels Star Wars about it is the environments. I don't think any of the vehicles, none of the characters scream Star Wars to me.
Yeah. Sure.
It has that same feel that like Star Wars Outlaws had.
Yeah.
Where it kind of felt like somebody writing a Star Wars story from an outside perspective without like the insight of what makes Star Wars Star Wars.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And to play devil's advocate, there's a large possibility, almost even a larger possibility that we're like, oh, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. Like something has changed. Could that something have changed been us? Like maybe
that's likely.
Maybe like throughout the course of our lives, like we have changed and we don't see it the same. But who's to say? This does look cool. I think for me the thing that's going to get me most interested in a racing game is like combat racing. So like if you can pick up items and fire lasers at people or drop the sonic charges from like Boba Fett's ship where it does that like that.
Yeah.
Like something like that would be cool where it's like you can affect the other people racing you. If it is just like a pick your speeder and drive, that's likely going to be something I can't stay into.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like again, I don't want to make it sound like we don't like Star Wars, because again, the amount of Star Wars trivia I can rattle off, I'm sure a lot of you guys can absolutely lap me 10 times over with that stuff. But like, I am a Star Wars fan.
Same.
I just need to find something to reconnect me and bring me back in.
I think I might have been more interested in this game if they went completely off the rails, which I don't think they do these things enough these days anymore. But like, give me Yoda cruising around on like a speeder in the race,
make it more like arcade.
Figure and Dan and the model nodes all piled into a car, like playing music as you're driving by.
Yeah. Well, in the end of the trailer here, we get Ben Quaternaros, or however you say his name.
Is he actually in the trailer? That's real.
That's real.
That's not a movie scene.
That's not a movie scene. That is him on a pod racer.
I didn't catch that when I did it. I thought you were pulling my leg for a second.
Yeah, Ben Quaternaros or Quadranaros, however you say it.
Glub Shitto.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever their names are. That actually, you show me that makes me more intrigued in the game because that feels more Star Wars to me.
Sure.
That's like old school pod racing.
Yeah.
But like when there was the clips of like a couple speeders going off a jump in like a graveyard of Star Destroyers, none of those ships felt Star Wars to me. They felt almost maybe like Destiny ships or something in that realm.
Yeah.
They didn't feel like what I would think a Star Wars ship would be.
Fair enough. And a part of that is like this, obviously this franchise has been around since the 70s. So, you see the same types of ships and speeders for so long that it's like, eventually we have to get something new. And it's, Star Wars has been around for so long that the world and the environment and the aesthetic of the world is just so known that like one little thing that someone might look at, they might say, hey, that doesn't really fit for me. And it might not even be something you can place, right? You can't describe exactly what about these ships necessarily feels non-Star Wars, but something's off. And that might just be a personal thing, right? Like that might just be something that like, for whatever reason that you see it and it's something you're thinking, whereas like maybe everybody else out there.
I think the camera died. You want to continue this podcast just audio?
Yeah, we'll do audio only from here on out because, like I mentioned earlier, we're figuring things out on the technical side. So if this one ends up being a total audio only, then so be it. But we'll just keep ripping. Kind of what I was saying is like it's such a the world is unique from the ground up, right? Like one of the big things they always talk about is like nothing is new in the world of Star Wars, right? Like you've never seen a ship that doesn't have dents and scuff marks on it, right? Like nothing looks straight out of the factory. So like if you see something that looks totally clean and brand new, that's something that, again, maybe the average viewer may not say like that doesn't click because it's brand new, right? They may not be able to necessarily place it, but they can just tell something's off. I'll be honest with you, I didn't necessarily get that from this as much as what you're saying, where, it felt Star Wars enough for me at least.
I also think something that throws me off when it comes to Star Wars is when an alien speaks English for the most part. Like not a lot of people that aren't human in Star Wars show up and speak fluent English. I don't even know if I can name one off the top of my head.
Say that again. That's
like aliens in the Star Wars universe. Well, I guess like Cad Bane and stuff, but I'm thinking of like from the original trilogy, and maybe some of the prequels, but like a lot of the alien races that show up, they speak different languages. They're not just fluent in English or whatever English is called in the Star Wars universe. So when that guy got out of his pod racer or his ship, and like he walked up to the dudes and like just started talking, it was really jarring to me.
Sure. I don't know if that necessarily is an issue for me.
That's definitely a me thing. That's not like a thing that's wrong with Star Wars.
Yeah, and that could also just be like, again, when you watch the original trilogy and you see like Chewbacca who can't speak, English, or you see Jabba, like all those characters
Greedo, like everybody's...
they all kind of speak, but there's also like a level of understanding. Like Han Solo and Greedo have a full blown conversation, both speaking different dialects, and they understand each other.
Yeah,
so
I think some subtitles with some alien gibberish would be more fitting for me.
Yeah, sure. And we're also like in an era where it's like they used to just come up with these like languages for these different aliens, and now it's like you get a Star Wars show, and it's like, you'll get a like let's say like a Twi'lek, and they show up and it's like voiced by like a well-known actor, and you're like, that's just this actor playing this guy, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very good segue into the next game that we're going to be talking about, because that's probably one of the only issues I have with this game, and that is 007 First Light. I think me and you are both super high on this game. I know you're through the roof.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. This is a day one for me. I'm pre-ordering. This is a void that I've itched to fill probably since Uncharted 4 has come out. Nothing quite has fit into that piece or into that space that I wanted to, and 007 fills all the check boxes on that list that I'm looking for right now.
Yeah, I guess what you're going to bring up is, I know you're not a big fan of. We've now walked into this era of when there's an actor involved in a video game and they're voicing a character. Now they look like that actor. Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so like I know. Like with Death Stranding with Norman Reedus, like it's hard for you to not just see Norman Reedus.
Yeah. And who's in this one? It's Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz is playing.
And then, the guy from Walking Dead. I don't know his name.
Yes.
The guy who plays Morgan from Walking Dead.
Yeah, God, his name is escaping me.
But they're both in this game, and I just want to talk about this first and get this out of the way before we start talking about all the positives, because there's so many.
Yeah.
And this isn't just for this game. This is just video games right now. And this might be a hot take, but I think the trend of modeling characters after the actors that play them has really like diluted memorable characters in video games. Like we don't really like nowadays we don't get our Kratoses, our Nathan Drakes, our Leon Kennedys, because like most characters are just modeled after people. I mean, obviously we're still getting like we get Joel and Ellie. Those are not really modeled. They're kind of modeled, but not exact off the actors.
Yeah,
but like it's a very slippery slope that we're going down here.
Yeah, I think so. And I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd say most, but definitely many. And I think a part of that is just because it's easier to map faces and do motion capture.
Yeah.
So, listen. At the end of the day, if the actor delivers a really good, convincing performance, it doesn't bother me one bit. I understand what you're saying, where it's like you want the hero of your story to feel unique, and you want that character to be that character.
Yeah.
So,
do you have as big of a problem with it as I do, or no?
No, not at all.
Do you? Then I want to pose this question: how about if they did it with James Bond? If they modeled James Bond off an actor who has never played James Bond before for this game.
If they modeled it off of an actor who's never played James Bond before.
But he played James Bond in this game. Like, say...
It's kind of what they did.
Yeah, but the guy's not... Who plays him?
I'm bad with actor names. Let me just look up the cast real quick, just so I have it in front of me. I don't want to mess up anybody's names.
Maybe it's an issue of just how well known the actors are to me.
Well, right. That's
like if they took, because I know like Henry Cavill was a big one, like a big actor that everybody wanted to take on the role of James Bond at some point. Mm-hmm. Like if they used that in this game and made it Henry Cavill, and this is the only time he ever played James Bond, it'd be very jarring. It'd be hard not to see Henry Cavill instead of James Bond.
Sure, and that's the thing, because Henry Cavill right now has a level of fame where, again, you attach these mega superstar actors to a particular role, right? So Daniel Craig, when he landed James Bond, that was his breaking point. So a lot of when you see Daniel Craig in a movie, and let's say his name escapes your mind, right? You're going to say, the guy, James Bond, right?
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan, same thing. He's done a whole list of other movies that he's done, but he will always be James Bond. And I'm sure as an actor that could be aggravating at sometimes, but it's just the truth. And it's it's to me it's a compliment, right? Like you are labeled as this high profile character for the rest of your life, and it's, yes, I'm sure for them it could be frustrating because it might be hard to go tell other stories once you've moved on, but it's I guess a testimony to doing a good job, perhaps.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day it's about how famous the person is, how much it bothers me.
Yeah, it's you want them to feel like the character they're portraying.
Yeah.
For example, going back to Henry Cavill, he's in a sense almost done too much, where it's like, are you going to see James Bond or are you going to see Superman?
Yeah. And it's an easier pill to swallow when they model the character off a voice actor who's playing them rather than a Hollywood movie star that comes in to fill that role.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's start talking about the good things about this game, because it is very... There's a massive list.
Yeah, real quick, before we do that, I did get it up. So Bond is being played by Patrick Gibson, who, just looking at his list of stuff here, he was in Dexter Original Sin. I didn't watch that. Something called The Portable Door. Didn't watch that. The Darkest Minds. A few things here that, like, he's been around the block, but nothing major as far as I can tell, or at least nothing major to me. A lot of this stuff, maybe I've heard about it and it just kind of, went in one ear and out the other. Nothing here seems like, oh yeah, like I've seen this. Like there's none of that, which is kind of like where most of these actors come from, right?
Yeah. Looking at a picture of him next to James Bond, I think they took the facial structure of him, but he's a blonde-haired dude with curly hair.
Yeah, so
it's not him in the game.
Sure.
The guy who plays Morgan and Lenny Kravitz in First Light are just them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. And again, that's the issue we're talking about. Is I want to look up Morgan from Walking Dead.
What's his name? I can't think of it.
Lenny James.
I felt like it was also Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny James. And he's a phenomenal actor. I've seen him in several things that I like. And again, he's I don't know if he's ever just looking at a couple things here, like he was in Blade Runner.
He's a very, very good actor. I think he's going to do well in the game.
Yeah, and again, he, as great as he is, he's not a Henry Cavill. He's not a, not even a Lenny Kravitz. You know what I mean? Like, he's known, but not too unknown. And it's like,
and to cap off this rant that we're going on here, I think also some of it has to do with if they star in a video game again. Like, for example, Norman Reedus did Death Stranding. Mm-hmm. He almost did Silent Hill before that.
Yes.
So, like, if we had 3 different franchises where Norman Reedus was copy and pasted into it, it's like, all right, these characters don't feel different, especially because Norman Reedus he's a big Hollywood star. Like, he's notable and noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, maybe there's a little bit of just actor fatigue sometimes, if that stuff tends to happen. But
yeah, the thing that I will say is that I could see him being in a Bond movie. Like, he would fit.
Oh yeah,
totally fine. So the fact that it's a game, it doesn't necessarily bother me because Bond is, first and foremost, they're movies. I mean, I guess first and foremost, they're books, but predominantly they're movies, right? There's more people who have seen the movies and recognize it as a film rather than a novel. But I could see him, with the appearance he has in the game, I could see that just copy and paste into a movie.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't bother me that much for that reason. If you took Norman Reedus and put him in this game, I might have more of a problem with it.
Norman Reedus as James Bond?
Norman Reedus as James Bond, because it doesn't necessarily fit. Norman Reedus also just has a very unique look where his hair is so, he doesn't have the typical haircut that, it's not the short sides, long top, typical Hollywood A-list actor look of like the Brad Pitts, the Henry Cavills,
I feel like Norman Reedus could stand 6 miles away from me, and I could see him out in the distance, and I'll be like, dude, that's Norman Reedus.
Yeah, and I'm a big Norman Reedus fan. I love Norman
great.
Reedus. So that's not to bash him at all, but I get where you're coming from. It's not nearly as big of an issue for me. If it was, if the stipulations were different, right? Like you said, if they took Henry Cavill and put him as James Bond in this game, maybe I would have a problem with it. Maybe I wouldn't. He was actually high on my list of who I wanted to play James Bond in the next iteration of the films. Do I still have that opinion? I don't think so. I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. But I'll tell you this. The way they did it in this game, no problem whatsoever for me.
Yeah, I think this game, because it's a movie, or I guess a book franchise or a movie franchise into a game, makes it a lot smoother of a transition in that regard. The fact that it's not just a standalone game with an actor placed into it,
yeah,
I think allows me to look past it and focus on a lot of the greatness, which is the gameplay that we've seen so far. It looks like Hitman had a baby with Uncharted.
Yeah.
And the action scenes are just almost ripped from Uncharted games with a bit of a James Bond twist on it.
Somewhere in this trailer, there's a literal falling out of a plane, kind of what we talked about in the last.
And that might simply be, I mean, first of all, it's a very Bond thing to be doing. For that whole action sequence, but also it might simply be an homage to Uncharted.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about Bond, and again, I'm trying not to get too deep into just talking about this. Like, I can go on forever, so I'm trying to keep it short. The thing about Bond is, like, in the last episode that I was on, I talked a little bit about how he's like Batman, where you could bring in a new actor, reinvent it, and at its core, it's still James Bond, but things may be a little different, right? So you have, like, Roger Moore, who was a little bit more comedic, a little bit more gadgets, and then you had Daniel Craig, who was a little more, less gadgets, more stoic, a little less comedy, but they throw some comedy in there. Like, it's a different, like, there's definitely people out there. For me, like, I love it all. I'll take every kind where, you can give me something a little lighter and more fun. You can give me something like the Daniel Craig ones where it's a little more rough and tumble, hand-to-hand combat, a little more brute force type guy, and I like it all. However, there's definitely people out there who they may say, like, hey, I like these 5 movies, and I don't much care for these 10 movies within the Bond series, which is cool. And I think that that's cool because it gives a little bit for everybody. You have, like, comparing it to Batman, you have the Dark Knight series, which is a little more serious, dark, and gritty. And then you have some of the earlier ones with, the ones like Jim Carrey as the Riddler and
like the Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
where things are. I mean, that one's like super Tim Burton-y because obviously, and but it's great. It's great, and then you have the Robert Pattinson one, which is so dark. And so Bond is like that for me, where, like, you can keep reinventing him, and even if there's slight differences, I'm chances are I'm going to love it. I think this game is bringing something totally new.
The young Bond.
Most of these trailers have just talked about how it's him getting into the 00 program, right? They talk in this trailer about we're bringing back the 00s, and there's always been a sprinkling of Bond's military past. Before he was the suave spy, he was a military man, Commander Bond, right? It looks like we're going to get maybe the most of that backstory that we've ever gotten. So I'm excited to see all that. And it's just Bond from a different point of view. Every game you've ever played, he's been an established, spy where it doesn't feel like his first or second or third outing where he's going out. Like, he's very much like a rookie. That's not to say that he won't be successful and won't have, certain skills and abilities, but, this whole thing seems pretty new to him.
Yeah. And we did mention this last time we talked about this game, but this might be some people's introduction into the world of James Bond.
Yeah.
So I think setting up in a way where this is also James Bond's introduction to the world of James Bond in this game. It's a great way to put the player in the character's shoes and learn along with them into the world.
Yeah. And it's interesting you bring that up because when I was a kid growing up, I loved James Bond. There was video games coming out constantly and movies coming out constantly. We're in a weird point where there was only movies for a good long time, and now we're at a point where the property has changed studios. Actors are about to change. Like, we are on the verge of a total reemergence of Bond, and I think pairing it with a video game, there are going to be people out there who, they know who James Bond is, right? Like, I don't know if our father has ever seen a James Bond movie, but how many times in our life have we heard him say Bond, James Bond, like in like a joke or whatever?
It's up there with Luke. I'm your father.
Yes, everybody knows it, and so there's people out there like, of a young age, like probably somewhere in like the teens, where it's like they know who James Bond is, but they don't go and check out the movies or anything like that because they just never had that introduction.
Yeah. It is very interesting because I think this is mirroring something that happened last year with Indiana Jones. I feel like a lot of younger people nowadays know the name Indiana Jones, but have no experience with it, and that video game is the gateway into that franchise.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is going to introduce more people to the franchise as a whole, and it's going to, for those people who are out there that was like, yeah, I think those are some old movies my dad used to watch or something about, like, he's like a spy but he's in the casino sometimes. I don't really know. My dad used to watch it and he likes it, but I never really watched him. Some people are going to play this game and say, I should dig a little deeper. I should go see what's out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. I mean, look, I had the movies and the games growing up. I know for you, the games are pretty much
my exposure to them.
Yeah. Like you've seen only a handful of the movies, but here you are saying like, this is a game I am going to buy day one. I'm super stoked for it. So I think that this hopefully will bring this will be a summoning to the Bond fandom that people are brought into.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next game, I have to mention, because I was cracking up when I watched the State of Play at the pre-order bonus for the game. Did you catch wind of that?
The Bond game?
Yeah.
I've been keeping up with them.
You get a pair of golden AirPods in game.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous, but I'm here for it.
So the thing I like about this, right, is that
let me lean in and get it. Look at this.
You have a golden pen, golden lighter, golden AirPods. Like the thing about Bond is that some of his items that he has are characters in and of themselves, right? Like you could give a character any old watch, but you make it a specific brand with a specific function. Like I know for you, seeing like an Omega watch with like a blue face, you're like, that's the laser watch, right?
Yeah.
Like it takes on a personality of its own, where it's like these items themselves are almost characters, right? Bond is very big on product placement. The brands that are usually draped over him, right? Omega, Sunspell, Tom Ford, Walther, all these brands are a part of it, right? It's not like they put on any random old like, here's a nice suit, right? There's choices being made that like, hey, this is the brand, the designer that he wears. This is the brand of watch that he wears. And it's one of those things where, if you gave Bond like a two-door watch, right? Or like I don't know, a Nike jacket and whatever, a pair of Timberlands, it's no longer Bond. So it is funny that here's your big pre-order bonus, a pair of gold Bluetooth earbuds.
I wasn't knocking it. I
know, but
yeah.
It's interesting that that's a part of it, and there's tons of fun stuff in here too. Like looking at some of the other pre-order bonuses, you get the Day of the Dead outfit. I know in the trailer there's a couple scenes where he's wearing the outfit from or a very similar outfit to the one from the beginning of Casino Royale, the button-up shirt, that kind of thing. And to see that, like, a lot of those, like, in the trailer, we saw Omega, we saw Aston Martin, we saw Triumph. There was a Triumph dirt bike, which is, it's not just a generic motorcycle that they're putting in there. So I think that that's very true to Bond, and those are the little details, like I was talking about with the Star Wars stuff, where like if they put any other brand of watch on him, it might make me kind of like pause and be like, wait, something's off here.
Yeah.
Not a huge deal. Most people who are just interested in playing a fun action espionage game, they won't care for that kind of stuff, and that's totally cool. Being that this is a franchise that's near and dear to my heart, obviously in the last episode I was on, I put it at my number one. I'm excited to see that everything I've seen so far, I feel has been done true to the character.
Yeah. Anything else? Are you ready to move on to the next game?
I think I'm ready to move on. I just want to say the combat looks super fun. The variety of levels and I always, and I don't know if this is like an age thing, but like I always say levels when like I mean environments or like it's in
it'll probably be. You probably won't go out to a menu to select the next level. It'll probably be a seamless.
Yeah. Like
game.
but it's funny because like that old school way of like, oh, what level are you on? Or, oh, I remember this level. Even in like when we play Super Mario, it's like, oh, like in the game they're defined as worlds. Like what world are you in? I always say levels. It's just a habit I can't really break. But it's there's scenes of him on a snowy mountain climbing, and it looks like that might be the beginning of the game. He's got like that short military haircut, and then there's scenes of him like at a tropical resort, and he's talking to a lady by the pool, and that's like, it just screams Bond, and that's such a big thing. His like globe trotting of going around the world to all these different places seems like that's true to the game. The screenshot I have paused right now, it looks like the scar on his face, which is very true to Fleming. He has the scar on his face in the books. It looks fresh. It looks like maybe we'll see how he gets that scar in this iteration. There's going to be the passing of time. You're gonna grow with this character, right? Like in here, he doesn't have that short buzz cut from the military, the typical military high and tight. It looks like it's growing back in a little bit, so we're gonna see kind of like the passage of time. So I'm just excited. I'm all around excited for this, and so far everything I've seen has gotten me more excited, and there hasn't been too much that's really made me take a step back and say, oof, I hope they're doing this right, because I think they are.
Yeah, and I think on release, we're probably going to do a full episode on this game discussing our thoughts. I think we'll probably beat it separately and then hop on the pod to have our conversation of our thoughts, see what we liked, and compare our opinions on the game as a whole.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see, with being that IOI is making this again, we may beat this game separately, and we come and kind of tell the stories of our experience, and they may be totally different.
Yeah, I'm curious on the level of variety. Like, are you going to be able to beat certain levels in different ways, like Hitman, or is this going to be more of a linear experience, telling like a straight cut story for James Bond?
Yeah, I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd say the world is yours to explore how you like. Do you want to be more stealthy? Do you want to be more, like that Daniel Craig rough and tumble? Do you want to be more like, hey, I'm not going to sneak through a window, but maybe I'm going to enter this environment posed as somebody else, right? Like a typical Hitman type thing. So we'll see. I just I can't wait.
Yeah,
and I think that there's this, the episode of us beating this may be long off in the future, because we have to wait for the game to come out, and I could see myself really taking my time with this one, and trying to get all I can out of it. So we'll see, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited to talk about it, and I'm excited to hear what everybody else has to say about it. If this is kind of your introduction to Bond, if you're excited about this and this is going to be your doorway into that franchise, like, tell us what you're feeling, because I have past experiences with Bond games and Bond movies, and I would love to get the point of view of someone who the only thing they know about James Bond is the fact that he wears a tuxedo and says his last name, then his first name and his last name. So please, any comments that you guys want to throw out about this? As a Bond fan myself, I would love to know what that a person with that level of experience has to say about this. Mm-hmm. Are you excited about it? Is it something that you're kind of like, I've heard of James Bond, but he's not my thing, so I'll probably pass on it. Please, just for my own interest, let us know what you're thinking, because I'd love to read it. I'd love to know where everyone's head at is on this, because it really, like I said, could be the summoning of a lot of people getting into Bond. Or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just hopeful, and James Bond is going to kind of go the way it's going, and that's it. So please let us know. I want to hear all your thoughts, good, bad. If you think I'm crazy and you think that the fact that I'm excited for this and I'm not excited for something else, I'm not excited for 4-Loop, let me hear that. I'd really love to know where people's heads are at.
Yeah, give us some opinions. Tell us what you thought of the state of play as well.
The state of play as a whole.
Yeah. So from one secret spy to another, the next game we are talking about is the announcement of Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's too much to say about this other than I'm excited for it to come out. We got the first volume on Switch. I'm probably going to pick up this volume on Switch as well, just to have a matching set on the same console.
Yeah.
What's exciting about it is this is the first time Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker is available on a platform other than PSP and PS3. I know a lot of people don't have those consoles, as I feel like when the PS3 was out, Xbox 360 took over, and PSP didn't really take off until they switched over to doing the PS Vita. So it's been a game that's kind of been tucked away in the shadows that now everyone's going to get to play, including myself.
Yeah.
Along with the announcement of this, they announced that they are doing one final update for the first collection, adding in higher resolution textures, which I'm going to be honest, for the first game, looks so goofy, because without that like graininess, pixely like feel to the graphics of the first game, it looks off-putting. Everything looks so smooth, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of it, but the updated textures for Metal Gear Solid 3 looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
And is definitely going to be a big improvement. I know there's the remake of that coming out.
Yeah.
Or is that out already?
Yeah.
The MGS 3 remake.
The standalone 3 remake is out.
Yeah. But I'm all for playing the originals first before I do remakes. So playing something like this on Volume 1 with the enhanced textures and everything, it's definitely going to be a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the franchise. For me, growing up, it was kind of side by side with Splinter Cell, where Splinter Cell was the clear favorite for me. I enjoyed this game. I enjoyed the characters. And, Solid Snake is one of my go-to characters on Super Smash Brothers and all that kind of thing. So I'm excited for it. Regardless of what game it is, whenever they do these expos or whatever you call, like, whatever the state of play or
like a showcase.
Yeah, showcase, perfect. Yeah, whenever they do these showcases and they're like, here it is, a game you've had forever and it's a remake. It's like, oh, that's cool, but
yeah, those
don't get me excited as much as some other things, like something actually brand new. So I know some people, like people who that happens for them and they're a mega fan of the series that it happens for. By all means, be excited about it. I totally get it. I'm sure if some of the Bond games came out with remakes, I would be losing my mind. This wasn't like a super, groundbreaking thing for me, but It's cool, and I'm happy it's here. I'd rather have it than not.
Yep, and it's something that we're gonna pick up for sure.
Yeah, because we started from the original games. We started playing through those together, and so I'm excited for it. I won't say that I'm, losing my mind, but it's listen, it's a classic series that deserves to be kept around. And again, this is the kind of thing where maybe someone like me who's kind of played some of these games and they're doing a remake, you could argue it's not for me. It's for, a kid who is at the age now that I was when these games were coming out.
Yeah.
And, maybe they don't have the hardware to play the old games because, they never had a PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 or whatever. But now maybe they'll get the opportunity to enjoy these stories, and it's just going to make more Metal Gear fans, which is cool.
Absolutely. And then the next game that was announced following Metal Gear, or not announced. This game was announced before this showcase, but more of the gameplay was showed off. It gave a nice homage to Metal Gear itself, with Solid Snake references and all that. Darwin's Paradox. It's an awesome looking 2D stealth game where you play as an octopus. You're sneaking around. I think just the overall design and how you use the environment in this game is just so intriguing. Like it's hard to picture a 2D stealth game like hiding behind things, but like the way it's done here is phenomenal.
Yeah. Again, this is a game. It's colorful. It's vibrant. It looks super fun, right? I love games like this where you have a character who doesn't speak but has so much personality, and you could tell a lot of time and thought went into that design. This one just looks super fun. My wife is not the biggest gamer. She plays a couple games here and there. I showed her this one, and she was like, that's something up my alley. That's something that she could definitely dive into. So that's exciting for me because I love playing games with her. And it seems like the Metal Gear homage in this game, I think that's actually the playable demo.
Is it? I'm gonna have to.
I could be totally wrong on that. I believe that that's their hey, play this Metal Gear level that we made as the demo, but I don't know if that's actually in the game or you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. It looks like you could wear disguises and stuff in the game, and I don't know if they just did that as a fun thing for the demo or if that's something that'll I don't think this will be anything like Astrobot where it's like you're playing through all these other franchises.
No, I mean it's made by Konami, so it makes sense for them to show off their own games, stuff like that. But
yeah.
I was looking up the platforms that it was releasing on. It is going to be on Switch as well. I assume Xbox and PC. I wonder if the Metal Gear stuff is going to be exclusive to the PlayStation copy or not. I don't know how they usually do those things, but that's something to look into if when I pick up this game. Because it feels so much more like a Switch title to me. Yeah, like a handheld sitting on the couch playing rather than a PS5 title. But I do need to get some more PS5 games, so maybe I'll throw this on that list, and get it on PS5.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, next game was Castlevania Belmont's Curse.
Mm-hmm.
The art style, the gameplay looks so thrilling. I think this, just like Bond, is going to bring in some more Castlevania fans. Because I mean, when was the last time we've gotten a 2D Castlevania game like this, especially one that's getting showed off at such a big State of Play Expo?
Yeah, like
this took the cake, and I know we're going to talk about this game later, but God of War's Sons of Sparta was announced at the same time.
Yeah.
Both 2D Castlevania-like games, and let me tell you, Castlevania, I think, stomped out God of War when it comes to the visuals, the gameplay, and the presentation of the entire thing.
Sure. I like Castlevania. There was definitely a window of time where I was, somewhat recently, like within the last 5 years, where I played through the first and second one on Switch. I enjoyed it. I don't know all the lore. I don't know, all of the ins and outs of Castlevania, but I enjoyed them very much. I think it was a really cool, concept. You're a family of vampire hunters or monster hunters or whatever they are, right? But it's cool. And the art style in particular, it's something that will draw me in, and it's unique. I know you played a bit of the Prince of Persia.
Yeah, the newest Prince of Persia.
It kind of has that where it's like, again, colorful, vibrant, something that it's built with old bones. Your 2D side scroller, but looks completely fresh and again, you said, when was the last time a 2D Castlevania game came out and whatever, and maybe recently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it
that's
wasn't
the
in
point.
the spotlight like this.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like this I haven't thought about Castlevania in a while, and this got me thinking. So
yeah. I'm curious. The last true Castlevania release, Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, arrived in 2014. So it's been 12 years since we've gotten something like this.
Yeah.
And I feel like Castlevania even though it's been dormant for 12 years, the name still holds the credit of its past. It's so recognizable.
For sure. And again, any Castlevania mega fans out there, what do you guys think of this? Because you guys would have better insight than us. Is this something that you see at first glance and you're like super excited about and it looks good? Or, are there like true purist fans out there who like look at this and say, this doesn't feel like Castlevania. I don't like this. They went the wrong direction. I don't have enough. I have some experience with the games. Like I said, I played the first two, really enjoyed them. So if anyone out there has more insight than us, please share. This while we're the ones talking into this microphone. I think that Mark would agree. This is not something that we would like to sit here and talk just to you guys. We want to hear feedback. We'd love to make this more of like a back and forth kind of thing. So
this show is not a lecture. It's an invite to join our conversation that we had before we started this podcast. It's something that we want you guys to engage in and give your insight so we could go back and forth and honestly do what we enjoy most, and that's just talking about all these different games that are coming out.
Yeah, so like you said, in short, it's not a lecture, it's a conversation. Please speak up. We want to hear it, especially on things that we don't have as much knowledge about, like this. So please.
Yeah, I think for the next game, we're going to jump around a little bit because I want to save a specific game for very last because I think we're going to have a lot to say on it. And these next two kind of go hand in hand. Games that I don't think we'll have too much to say on, but they're notable enough that we can talk about. And that's first, the God of War trilogy remake that got announced, and it's very, very important to discern the difference between a remake and a remaster. That this isn't just fresh textures and new lighting. This is from the ground up remade for modern consoles. The first 3 God of War games.
Yeah.
I obviously we didn't see much. We didn't see anything besides the titles. I think this is a good indication that it's going to be a while before we see these. Could be 3 years before we, get some sort of inkling of when it's going to drop.
Yeah.
My only question is, do we think it is dropping all at the same time as one thing? Do we think they're going to release each of the remakes separately? And, if they do that, obviously we can get one sooner than if they're dropping all 3 together.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I could see it going either way. I feel like they could do them individually and stretch it out and, really put the time and effort into each one and, do the first one, get it out. Let people enjoy that while we're working on the second one. Kind of do a 3-course meal,
Yeah. I think I'd prefer that.
I think I'd prefer it too. There's something about like when these things come out and it comes out as the collection, it's convenient for sure. But it feels like less of a experience.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Also, when it comes packaged like that, I'm gonna get excited to play it, and I'm gonna get it and play God of War 1, and then when I finish that, I don't know if I'm gonna be sitting there like, I want to jump right to God of War 2.
Sure.
And chain all 3 of those games back to back to back. So when there's space in between for me to get hyped for each one, I think the overall experience of the release is just improved.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of opinion too, where it's like we live in a world where so much stuff comes out as bingeable content. When back in the day when we were watching Walking Dead on a weekly basis, when that show was super big and we were super into that show, you would watch an episode and then you'd get a whole week to discuss what do you think is going to happen next. Here's what I think is going to happen. And, so it invites that opportunity to, stretch it out, make it last longer, get something out of it that's outside of the game. Like you get all 3 games and you rip through them. It's like you can talk about how good they were and then it kind of ends. It's kind of nice to have that in between where it's, you get that discussion and you could talk about it. What are you excited for in the next one? And you have that like almost like, that countdown and that like that feeling you get when it's like the week before Christmas and it's coming up and you're excited and you're going to get off of school and I'm 30 years old and I'm talking about school. Like, it's a weird thing, but like that's the best thing I can kind of compare it to, where it's like, you get so excited for like a new show coming out and they drop an entire season and the weekend comes around and you crush through the whole series and it's like you enjoyed it but it's done. It's like, again, I do prefer to get my shows all at once so I could watch it on my own time. But there is that, like, I've definitely had shows where I remember specifically when Punisher on Netflix season 2 came out. I was waiting for it. I was so excited. I love the character of the Punisher. And I watched it all in one day. And I remember I enjoyed it very much, but there was almost a sadness where it was like, wow, that's it. It's done. It was such a buildup and then such a short life of like, what am I going to do? Watch it again? Right. And of course I did, but it's like, it's such a fun experience. Why not make it last longer?
Yeah. And I think that in between time, like, obviously these games aren't new, so that it's not like a lot of theorizing, but like there's probably going to be a lot of people enjoying these games different ways, getting I mean, I hate always using the word clips, but like getting interesting gameplay footage and talking about re-enjoying this game from a game that released 20 years ago. Like that in between time is just so special for the game's life.
Yeah.
And I do hope that they just drop them one by one, maybe a year or two in between.
Yeah, and then maybe at some point, like once they've had that lifespan, then you release the collection, and it's something down the road you can get all on in one box. But I think why not stretch it out?
Yeah. And then just to piggyback off the God of War trilogy remake being announced, God of War: Sons of Sparta was announced and released on the same day. I think shadow dropping a game like this is a lost art in the gaming world. I think more companies have to do it more often. But honestly, I think I hate to say it, just by watching the trailer, that might be one of the only positives I think I took from it. I think the art style is a little bit lackluster mixed with animations. It looks a little bit underwhelming. Kind of looks like a Flash game a little bit. And I think Castlevania just took over that genre and that 2D Castlevania genre is just dominated by that showcase of Castlevania rather than God of War: Sons of Sparta. And I know some people are excited for this, and I hope people are enjoying actually playing the game. But simply, it just looks a little underwhelming to me.
Yeah, so I totally disagree. I am a much bigger God of War fan than I am a Castlevania fan, which might have something to do with this. But, I talk a lot about how, like, there's a lot of games in the state of play here that we just skipped over because, for me personally, they all felt so similar. Like, there were so many games in here where it's like you show a character and it's a dark sky with, like, objects and matter floating in it, and it's like this weird desolate wasteland type thing, and it's this kind of like depiction of this character who's in this world, and it's like there's like an essence of the world used to be this full and vibrant world, and now this thing has taken over, and it's just this weird wasteland where there's black swooshing in the air and stormy skies, and just a completely fantasy world, and they all felt so similar to me, where I was like, yeah, this seems like almost as if I wasn't watching this show sequentially, and you said, hey, check out this game, and you showed me some clips from one of these games versus another. Like one of the games they showed earlier was Pragmata, I believe it was called. And like, again, that game passes the action figure test. It was a really cool character and cool concept, and it showed like this city that looked like it was kind of almost like it was being deleted. Like there were parts of buildings that were
there was
not there.
There was a car that was like pixel, like digitized almost like into the ground.
Yeah, the biggest focus of it is like the girl looks at a globe and it's like half there, and it talks about like this matter creating these things or whatever it is. Like, and then there was another game in here. I don't remember which one it was. Regardless, it was like literally a city that the same thing. It almost looked as if it was like partially getting Thanos snapped, and it was like partial city, partial like
that might have been. Was it the Control remake? I mean, not remake. Whoa, the Control sequel.
Maybe. I know that one had a city in it, and
yeah.
it like. And again, I'm not saying every game that has a city looks alike, but like it just felt so similar. Where it was like there's this lone character who's just doing this thing, and there's these like somewhat generic bad guys, and like I don't know what the story of any of those games are. It just felt like a showcase of visuals, and they were just too similar for me. This feels different. Like you said, it looks a little bit like a Flash game, kind of. I kind of dig it, dude. It looks like something that like almost before like iPhones, when you would have like a Verizon flip phone, and you would go into the game store and buy some like 99-cent game. Like it almost feels like that, but obviously it's going to run smoother and be better. Like I think the visuals are great. I love when games can have that like decreased level of graphics where it's like almost pixelated, but you could still see details. Mm-hmm. Like I think this game looks great. I will jump into it eventually. I haven't yet. And again, shadow dropping it, just saying like, showing the trailer and being like, hey, by the way, it's out right now. What a cool way to drop that game.
Yeah, that it's something that needs to happen more often. It's such a cool thing to do. And not to get off topic, but that is in discussion of what might happen when they release the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake.
Good.
So if that happens, like when you're stuck in between trying to hype a game but you don't get enough hype, that's like the worst place to be. You either want to be showing trailers long out and having people get hyped as the game gets closer and closer, or you want to drop it on their heads and have people freaking out. If you're in that between space, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, I agree. And look, this game, I'm not saying that this is going to be like game of the year by any means, but like it's something that's cool. And everything we've seen so far in State of Play is, hey, coming soon. And if this was a like coming soon thing where like I had to wait for it,
yeah,
I may lose interest because it's just, again, it's not this vast 3D world, but it is stunning, in my opinion. I think it looks cool. And the fact that I could just say, wait a minute, this entire show was telling me all about the things I have to wait for. But wait, they gave me something. I could go do this right now. That got me more excited for it.
What a great way to end it, too.
Yeah, it's like, that's awesome. And I think people would agree. If you were waiting for, the remakes to come out, and you were waiting for this to come out, oh, are you excited for the remakes? Dude, I can't wait. Oh, and you see that 2D side scroller? Yeah, that looks cool too. Maybe I'll check it. But the remakes they're coming. It's like the fact that you can just instantly, again, that like 3-course meal, make it a 4-course meal. Here's your appetizer. That's.
I was curious, so I just looked it up. It's got a $30 price tag, which I think is great. I'm glad they didn't overcharge for something like this. They easily could have. I mean, it's God of War. They could have slapped $50 on this and said, "Here you go, guys."
Yeah.
Like, this is the God of War you know and love. Buy it.
Yeah.
But it's a fair price point, and I think they stated that it was kind of like a passion project that happened under the hood while all the main God of War stuff was kind of being developed, which I think does give it some credit.
Yeah.
But that's everything for God of War Sons of Sparta. And to cap off this conversation...
And wait, real quick, before... Also, it's... from what I gathered, it looks like it's Kratos' kind of origin story.
Yeah,
where he
it
came
takes
from.
place before everything.
Yeah, like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a... they're not giving us a 2D version of one of the games we already got.
Right. I wonder if some people will treat this as an entryway into God of War. Do you think some people might pick this game up as their first God of War game, and this is their first experience with Kratos?
Potentially. I mean, I guess the ability to do that is there. I just think the fact that it's a 2D side scroller and kind of a a smaller launch of a thing, right? Like maybe not.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely that people will get the remasters and that'll be their entryway in.
A lot of people entered the series through God of War 2018 as well.
Yeah.
That was like a reboot.
Yeah.
A new jump-in point.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, to cap off this conversation about State of Play, I think one of the most surprising announcements for the entire showcase, the John Wick game. Untitled John Wick game is what it's deemed as right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let you start on this because I want you to run back our whole conversation about a John Wick game that we had maybe 2 days before this announcement.
Yes. So, I am a massive fan of the world of John Wick. Obviously, it is a very good action movie. Keanu Reeves is an absolute diamond of a person. He is just I've never seen him do anything that has turned me off and been like, oh, maybe Keanu's not who we think he is. Even like I remember watching some special features on like John Wick 3, and they asked some of the actors like, hey, what's it like working with Keanu? And they said that, they were like, so a lot of people, tell you like what it's going to be like, and there's this image of what he is, and it's all true. It's he's great.
I love that.
I love him. And John Wick is just an amazing film franchise. They're doing spin-offs now with other characters. I know you haven't seen all of the movies yet. That's something we got to work on because I know we watched the first two together recently, and we got to finish that up. So I won't say any spoilers or anything. But there's spin-offs coming out. There was a spin-off TV show which I enjoyed. It's a very interesting world, right? From the little bit you've seen, it's like again, it's something based in reality, but there is so much suspending your perception of reality because of the things that happen, right?
Yeah.
Like there are YouTube videos on YouTube of like, hey, why are there no cops in the John Wick series, right? Like you're having full-blown shootouts in the middle of streets and in public places, and never once do you see like the cops show up and like, right? The only time you see a cop is when the guy comes and knocks on the door and he looks in and he sees all the bodies in John Wick's house, and Keanu's like, hey Jimmy, and he's like, hey John, you working again? And he's like, yeah, and he's like, all right then, John, have a good night.
Yeah.
And he leaves, and it's like, that's the only time you see it. And some people probably watch those movies and they may not even like think about that, but that's perfect. You're not, there is a bit of fantasy to it. So talking about the game, probably
before we hop into that, I have a question that
okay, go ahead.
That kind of pertains to what you were talking about before about me not being fully caught up with John Wick stuff. Mm-hmm. Judging by the trailer, first of all, does this game seem like it's canon to the movies, and does it slot in between any of them in any way that you could gauge just from what we've seen?
So I've watched the trailer a couple times. I would have to look at certain things much more closely. I'd have to get screen grabs. This is going to be a bit of a spoiler for you. I apologize, but for the sake of the audience, I'm going to do it. Like, I haven't paused and, zoomed in to see, like, how many fingers does John Wick have in this game? Because that might tell you something.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet. At some point, I assume we'll do a deeper dive into all of this. And I'll come loaded more with that kind of stuff. Like I said, I watched it a couple times. My excitement was there. I haven't necessarily come down from that excitement enough to say like, okay, let's get into the nitty gritty and start picking apart every little detail. So I don't know as far as like it being canon. I don't know. I don't necessarily care. I would like it if it was, because when you build a world and things happen, it's always a bit confusing when it's like, hey, here's another story. By the way, just pretend as if this stuff didn't happen and this stuff, I want it to be canon.
It might be a case where nowadays everything is they try to make everything canon and fit into the world, but like worst case scenario, from the game's perspective, the movies are canon, but from the movie's perspective, the game is not.
Sure, yeah, and there's absolutely not. And listen, I don't like when things necessarily contradict each other, but if you have to do that for the sake of making a good game, by all means, like, you know.
Do you think we're looking at a John Wick, not origin story, but like, do you think this is before all the movies?
So that's an interesting thing as well, you know. Before we get too deep into that, let's talk about the other thing.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of solely focus on this.
Yes.
So I want to jump back here because about 2 days, literally about 2 days before this trailer dropped, a trailer came across my feed for a game called Blackwood. And listen, I'm going to call it like I see it. It was a John Wick ripoff. It was a character in a black suit utilizing guns and combat in the exact way John Wick does. He had nearly the same haircut. And it was, you know, big public gunfights out in the streets, and, you know, like that same kind of everything about it was, hey, this is John Wick. We're calling it something different. And I was so excited for that because for a couple of reasons. One, you know, the story was you played this character and it was set in 2012 New York, and you were a DVD store owner by day and a, you know, secret assassin by night, and you had to balance the double life. And to me, I was like, oh, that's so cool. And like a part of me was almost more excited for like the you know, the parts of the story where like I have to do inventory in a DVD store. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like that's cool. Like what kind of Easter eggs would be on those racks of the DVDs? So that was super cool. You know, more so than just like putting out like a beat 'em up shooter. You know, it definitely had the potential to come across as a like Midnight Fight Express with a John Wick layover. But the other reason I was so excited for it was because, you know, there's games that may make you feel like, hey, I just watched a John Wick movie. I'd love to play a John Wick video game, but there isn't one. So I can go play this game that's kind of similar. You fight people, you shoot people, and it gets me a little bit of that fix. But this was like a direct copy of it, and I was totally okay with that because I thought this is the closest thing to a John Wick game we will ever get.
Little did you know.
Little did I know that 2 days later, no joke, they were going to drop this. Like jokingly, I texted Mark, and I was like, he sent me the trailer for the John Wick thing. I was at work, so I didn't actually see it when it came out. So he sent it to me, I believe, and I just responded back with, dude, that other game just died. And that was kind of like me, like, you know, trying to be funny, but also, like, I will say, I am excited for both. I will definitely be getting both. It'll be hard not to compare them to each other when it's all said and done, right? Like, I have the investment of I love John Wick. But I will get both because these games, like, it's right up my alley. And, you know, I don't know much about this Blackwood game other than what I've said already. But to whatever studio, to whatever publisher is putting it out, keep working away on that because although this dropped, I think there is still going to be excitement for both. And could you think of it this way? Could you imagine if these two games come out and Blackwood ends up being better?
Oh my God.
Right?
I'm just looking up who is making the John Wick game, which it's Saber Interactive, which they have made. I'm just trying to see if they've made anything similar.
While you look that up, I'm gonna.
We got World War Z, Evil Dead, the game, some other. I mean, Ghostbusters, some game called NBA Playground. So like, it looks like this might be their first like big leap. Besides, I know World War Z was a popular game. I'm not sure how Evil Dead did, but besides John Wick,
yeah.
I mean, they got some Quake under their belt and stuff, but I'm excited to see like what they can pull off with little experience in this field.
I agree, and I'm not going to say that this is necessarily 100% true, but that doesn't worry me so much.
Oh, they worked a lot on Halo, a lot of Halo stuff.
Okay,
too.
well,
Yeah. Never mind.
There you go. And you're more versed in this than me. I'm not nearly as caught up in like, you know, I know a lot of the big developers, but like typically if a game comes out, I'm not necessarily like who's making it and why. You know, IOI with Bond is a different story because I was more familiar with that.
Yeah.
But I don't have a good general knowledge of that kind of stuff. But that doesn't scare me as much. That it's like, hey, maybe they've never really done anything like this before. But I for two reasons I'm okay with it. One is because it'll be completely new. You know what I mean? Like, listen, there's a world where this Bond game comes out and I play it and I'm like, this feels a little too Hitman for me. You know what I mean? Like it's almost more. It's almost scary to the point where it's like, hey, are they too deep into something else where it'll shine through in another game? And the other thing too is like, again, you got to remember that at these developers, like there's teams of people, right? Like so. This might be a whole new group of people. They might have brought in a new team to work on this specifically. It's not, it's not the same as like, like an author who writes books. Whereas, like who writes the Witcher books? You have him on the shelf over there.
But I forget how to pronounce his name. But
okay,
it's very
yeah. So
very
like
not
right, like since he is the sole author of those books and that world and that genre of like high fantasy, if all of a sudden he came out and he was like, hey, I'm coming out with a new novel. It's about the adventures of a jazz trumpet player in the pre-World War I era, whatever. Like,
yeah.
I'd be like, well, that's kind of outside of his scope. And while I would, say go for it, try it, I would have some concerns. But with this, because it's like, oh, here's a developer that hasn't made a game like this before. Who knows? Maybe they might have brought people in who have worked on games that have similarities and so like that's cool. I'm very excited for this John Wick game. There wasn't a ton of gameplay.
No, I think the last like 10 seconds was like the little bit of gameplay that we got, which I think opens the conversation to what kind of gameplay are we looking for when this game comes out. And a topic that's been rattling in my brain since the trailer dropped was, do I want it to be difficult to feel like John Wick in this game? And what I mean by that is we could either get something pretty straightforward where you could press maybe a 2-button combo and you do hit some John Wick executions on enemies, and it naturally just flows with just a few simple button presses. Anybody can feel like John Wick, which that sounds like a good thing. That sounds inviting to people to play. But do we want something like Sifu, where
you could do aggravating?
Where it could be aggravating, but like when you master it, it feels so cool. You're hitting, 5 or 6 button combos that are resulting in these cool executions, and you can react to minor things in the fight rather than just pressing one action button to execute a guy.
Yeah.
Like, do we want to watch somebody get John Wicked, or do we want to be the one doing the John
Wicking? Yeah, that's an interesting point because, and it may be a hard balance because while in the movies, obviously it feels like he just absolutely runs through anybody who gets put in front of him. He usually comes out on the other side as the victor of the confrontation, right?
Yeah.
But that's not without taking his bumps and bruises. Like by the end of the movies and even by the end of certain fight scenes, you have him. He's breathing heavy. He's bleeding. He is shot, stabbed, wounded. Which for a movie that makes it very exciting. But could that be aggravating in a game? Like, could that be like, this is my 10th try, my 10th try going through this. At this point, it's becoming less fun and more like, okay, I don't care how much I look like John Wick. I just want to kill this guy so I can move on to the next part of the game.
Yeah.
So it could be a balance, could that might be something that's solved with like being able to choose your difficulty level. do you want to play through this and not necessarily have as much of a challenge, but like, do you want the focus of the game to be, hey, I want to survive and get to the end of this and I want it to be a challenge? Or would you like it kind of something on like an easier mode where it's like, my goal is to get through this game, which I know I will, but I want to get through it as cool as possible. I want to do the most John Wick combat moves where, the crazy executions and using the environment to fight. In the trailer, you see a lot of that. They're fighting in like this kitchen and he grabs a frying pan and, slamming a guy through a car window. I think having it like less difficulty, but giving you options to do different things, using the environment around you. Like, again, there could be some replayability of like, do you want to walk into a room and just headshot the 10 guys that are in there and go to the next room? Or do you want to go in there, go hand to hand, and again, like, hey, I could use this frying pan. Hey, there's a refrigerator over here. What can I do with that? Can I throw a guy up against it? Can I slam the guy's, head into the door? Like, there could be a lot to be explored of like, again, how I'm going to beat this game. How many different ways can I beat it?
Yeah.
I think John Wick also does a really good job of, before I say this, do you have anything to say kind of about that? I don't want to...
Yeah, I think I'm really having a hard time deciding on what I would want from the game. Like, I almost want an in-between of that Sifu, but also what I imagine we're going to get with maybe James Bond or Hitman, where, like, a single button executes an enemy. I think just because of the franchise of John Wick and the IP being attached to this game, I think everybody has it in their mind that they want to feel like John Wick, and I think the game part of this, or the mechanical part of this game, should be getting to that point of mastering what he does in the movies, not just simply having the game do it for you. I don't know. It's a weird thing that I go back and forth on, even as I'm speaking on it right now.
Yeah, I mean, this game could come out and feel like, it could just not have the feel of John Wick. Like, you don't want it to be John Wick, like in name only, right? You got Keanu in there and it's called John Wick, but is it going to feel like John Wick? That's definitely something that could, like, do I think that they'll miss the mark? I certainly hope not. This trailer has given me all the hope that they will not. But, we've seen it before where games come out and it's like, this is not necessarily the game that I was sold.
Yeah.
And again, too, it's what type of game will it be, right? So the world of John Wick, you have, the Continental, the hotel where it is like, I mean, I would love to just walk around that hotel and explore and, all the different ones in all different parts of the world, all the different Continentals throughout, the globe. And, like, just the story has never been like super deep, right? Like in the heart of things, this is a movie about a guy who gets a dog, from his wife after she passes, and someone steals his car and kills his dog. And then it's like a 4-movie rampage that spirals from him. Like, he goes and seeks revenge, and it's a 4-movie rampage based on that.
Right.
And it's not something that, like, again, like, is, I mean, that is like a really true description of the films. And it almost, like, I don't want to discount how good they are because I love them. So it's like, how involved in the actual story are we going to get?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this game needs to have a narrative that people are going to be calling a masterpiece. I think this game needs to hone in on gameplay. Like, I think that's where it's going to shine. I think that's what's going to take it to the next level. It's hard not to compare it to Bond just because we've talked so much about that.
Yeah.
Where, like, Bond, I think I would like a more in-depth story.
Mm-hmm.
John Wick, it could simply just be disconnected missions from John Wick's history that you go on. Like, I'm not theorizing that it's going to be that, but it could simply be that and still be a good John Wick game.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, It could be something totally new that we've never seen or heard about. It could take place between any number of the movies. It could be an entire game based on the impossible task that they talk about in the first movie, right? He was a part of this underground world of assassins, and he wanted to get out, so they gave him an impossible task that he had to do, and he completed it, and that bought him his exit from this world so that he can go live a normal life. Is this game going to be the impossible task?
Who knows? It could be a retelling of one of the movies.
It could be a retelling of one of the movies. Yeah.
Personally, I hope it's not that, but
no, me neither. I absolutely hope it's not that. I don't think they'll do that.
no.
And again, like the idea that there is this underground world of assassins that is just so intriguing, right? Like, you go into all these different places, whether it be the armorer, the tailor, the hotel, and everything is bought with this currency of these gold coins, right? There's almost like there's no value. It's like, hey, I need a hotel room. Here's a coin. I need a suit. Here's a coin. I need some guns. Here's a couple coins. Like, like it's just an interesting concept and an interesting world that, like, I want to know more about. But I also love the mystery and the mystique of it too. So I'm thrilled. I'm hoping with this we just get good action gameplay. I mean, this is a dream, right? Like, John Wick is a movie you watch and you would think to yourself, this would make a good game. The other cool thing about it is, I don't know, I haven't looked into this aspect of it either. Like I said, just my pure excitement of this trailer hasn't dwindled yet to the point where, like, I'm ready to, like, start to slow down and, like, do some research. But, like, Keanu is the kind of guy, in my experience, that I've seen, like, he would be totally excited to lend his voice to this game.
Oh, I mean, with him doing Cyberpunk, like,
Cyberpunk,
he's been in the video game world already. He's going to be John Wick.
Yeah, and
I don't know if it's going to be like mocap, like if he's going to be doing mocap for it and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
who knows? But
I've heard rumors that there's a John Wick animated show in development that he's, like, again, I don't know how true the article was. This could be a total rumor that doesn't exist. But the article said that there's a animated show in development in the animation style similar to the Splinter Cell show, and that Keanu is ready to lend his voice to it. Keanu also made a comic book series called Berserker, and there's a movie in development for that, a live action, and also an animated series. And he's slated to be voicing himself in the animated series as well as playing the main character in the movie. Like, so I know that there's definitely times where, certain actors are either too busy and too big to, scratch the surface of, like, lending their voice to, like, hey, we're going to do, like, a quick limited animated series. And they'll say, like, I'll do the movies, like,
Tom Cruise, I think, is strange like that, right? Like he doesn't like to lend his likeness out.
Maybe. I don't know the reasoning behind it, so I don't want to get that wrong. But, like, I know, like, the few Mission Impossible games that there are, it's not his likeness, it's not his voice. The next one that comes to my head, like, just off the rip, is the that weird, like, Jason Bourne Xbox game that came out years and years ago. Like, Matt Damon is not the character of Jason Bourne does not look like Matt Damon, nor does he sound like him. Which, again, does that really matter? Because those were books first, so you can have different iterations of it.
It's the same situation as Bond for at least Bourne. And I mean, I don't see any issue with that. Unless it's specific. I mean, in this case, when it's John Wick, like, John Wick is a movie series first and foremost. Everybody knows Keanu. If they did a John Wick game and John Wick looked nothing like Keanu, that would be very, very weird.
Yeah, it's. I think when the source material is not the film itself. For example, the Jason Bourne movies are based on books, and while many people may not have read them, many people may not even know that they're based on books.
Yeah,
but they are. So if in 10 years we got an Amazon Prime series, Jason Bourne, and it was played by a different character. Dude, I found out the other day there was actually a TV series, the Bourne Identity TV series in like the 80s or something. So like there's other iterations out there.
Right, and obviously that's not Matt Damon.
Yeah, obviously it's not Matt Damon, and obviously it wasn't very big because I consider myself a decent sized Jason Bourne fan, and
dude,
I didn't know about it. Nah, I don't even want to.
We this is like
we're like straying so far from the John Wick game right now, but
we'll do this story and then we'll kind of wrap it up. But this is a little bit of a right turn on what we're talking about here. But we went down to Orlando to go to Disney, to go to Universal. This past was that November. And Eric was through the roof. He was hyped. The one thing he wanted to do at Universal Studios was see the James Bond stunt. Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Got James Bond on the brain. Jason Bourne stunt spectacular. And
so I think
the entire day
wait.
It was
there's one aspect of this that is being lost here.
Oh, yeah.
So for those of you who aren't familiar or don't know or maybe not even care, Universal Studios opened up a new theme park called Epic Universe. And it involved having a new Harry Potter section of the theme park, a Nintendo section of the theme park, How to Train Your Dragons, like all these brand new properties that have never been, put out there in this kind of way. Had just opened. We were going down a little family vacation down to Florida, and we were going to stop in there. We were going to do those things. So we were going to hit the regular Universal Studios park in a day or two at Walt Disney World. And our family is very big on like, hey, what are you most excited for? And of course, like all the new stuff, right? Everyone's saying like, Mark was so excited for Nintendo, and my wife was so excited for the Universal Monster section with all the Frankenstein and Dracula stuff. And I just, my one constant was like, I am so excited for this Jason Bourne stunt show. It's a live action stage show where they do fight scenes, they do stunts, and I was just so excited for that. It has been around for like more than 5 years. It's not new. We had just never seen it before, but it was not by any means like a super new, and like there was no line out the door. On our particular trip, there was a reason there was no line out the door.
That's because the entire day that we were there, the show kept getting postponed and eventually just canceled for the entire day because of technical difficulties. Eric was checking his phone. He was checking the app like, I'm not even kidding, like every 20 minutes to see if show times were popping up. We walked over to the people that were sitting out front, the people who worked at Universal Studios. We asked them, and they're like, hey, there's maybe a chance that we're going to do one final show. And then just finally, it was just like, all right, yeah, we're not freaking doing this thing. And then Eric was like, you know what? Only me, man. Like,
yeah,
this only me.
So I had been waiting to see this because, like I said, we do a lot of build up to our vacations. Our family's super tight. We talk a lot. I was super excited about this show. We discussed what we're excited for over family dinners, and I kept saying I want to go to this show. And I know that in the gift shop, there is one piece of merchandise for this show, and it's just a T-shirt. It just says Jason Bourne Stuntacular on it, and like I am sure that with all the Harry Potter stuff, the Nintendo stuff, like this is probably not their biggest seller, but I just thought it was such a unique shirt that I was like, I am going to go see this show.
They probably lose money making.
They probably, yeah. I don't know how many people are running into the gift shop and being like, whoa, the Jason Bourne stunt show, like I got to get the T-shirt, right? You're more likely to go get like a Super Mario shirt or something, or a Harry Potter shirt, or a Harry Potter wand, or any of the other pieces of merchandise. And so my plan was to go see this show and buy this T-shirt because I was so excited for it. And we get there, and like you said, they said, hey, we're having technical difficulties, which, listen, there's nobody to blame. It happens. The show is very advanced with some of the technology they use. So they were like, hey, the first show's canceled, technical difficulties. So I said, is there going to be more? Like, they have certain time slots out there. They said, yeah, like if we can get it back up and running, we'll be doing our other shows. So I said, okay, no problem. So I turned around to the family. I said, hey, guys, it's closed. I'm going to run in the gift shop real quick and get that T-shirt. And so I went and grabbed the T-shirt. And, we went about our day, and I was constantly checking it, checking the time slots. Is it open yet? And there was a couple times where, like, they would put up a time, like, hey, the 4:30 show or whatever, and then all of a sudden it would say canceled. So at any rate, like I'm going the whole day. We were in the park for one day. We were there for one day, and lo and behold, they never got to show up and running. So I made the joke of like, I'm sure very few people go and see this show and feel the need to be like, this is the piece of merch that I want. But I may be the only person in the world who like has that shirt. Because I'm sure that, like I said, there's a very low percentage of people who go and buy that shirt. I may be the only person in the world who has that shirt and has not seen the friggin' show.
Not seen the show. I mean, I would bet a lot of money that you are the only person. You might be the only person who bought that T-shirt like that month.
Yeah,
in that park.
There's a chance.
They're not selling a lot of those.
No.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a little off topic.
Yeah,
Sorry for that story.
Roll back to John Wick.
Yeah. But before we do that, I will say, like, guys, this is why we started this podcast, because we have conversations like this all the time and we think it's fun. So like, while we totally just rambled for a little bit, if you're not super interested in that, or you're kind of just like, if we're losing you, we apologize. But that's kind of what the show is,
Yeah, just hit that little spinning button that says 15 seconds and just keep tapping that until you hear us talking about what you want us to talk about.
Yeah. Or go ahead and close out the app and go check something else out. That's totally cool. We understand. But that's what this whole show is about, is just having conversations and see where they go. That being said, let's wrap it up on John Wick.
Wick. Yeah, so I think I've said everything that I wanted to say on that game. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Again, I as long as it stays true to the movies and the source material, that's all I ask for. They made a very John Wick uses a very particular set of weaponry and things like that, which they did a very intentional. Showed him like holstering a gun, and it was the gun that he uses. So it looks like they did their research, and everything is lining up the way it should. I'm just excited to see more gameplay and see what exactly we're getting ourselves into.
Yeah. Do you want to quickly throw in some predictions on when we think this game might be coming out? Because there's a lot of hints that it could be a little while, but also we did see a little bit of gameplay, which is more than some games show on their first announcement.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I think the earliest that we see this game release is like the first half of 2028. I know that sounds like a long way out, but just the fact that it doesn't have an actual title, we only saw really maybe 10 seconds of gameplay footage. I think it's gonna be a while.
That would be my assumption as well. Could we? It all just depends. How close are they playing their cards to their chest? Could they have the title and they're just not revealing it yet? Have they not even discussed what the title? Like, is there still a board in an office somewhere with a list of potential titles that they're like not even close to getting to a title? We don't know. I don't claim to know a lot about business or how these guys make their decisions, but could they have a lot more than we think done, and they purposely put it out in this fashion just as like a let's see what the reactions are. Let's see what information we can get from our audience without revealing too much. Like, again, we saw some gameplay. Like, again, when Bond first was announced, it was literally the gun barrel scene and Project 007.
How long ago? That was 3 or 4,
maybe 5 or 6. You know, like
who knows?
Yeah, it's so but also in that same vein, everything we just saw could be the only stuff they have.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my early 2028 is when we see. That's the earliest we could see the release. I'm not saying it's going to release there. It might be even later. But
yeah,
I hope we don't go too long without seeing something new, at least on the game. Give us a gameplay trailer within, it's going to sound bad, but within the next year.
Yeah. And I don't even know. It's interesting too. When it's tied to a movie franchise, right? Decisions can be made based on that. meaning, I don't know how long we've been going for, but I'll make this kind of my last piece to wrap up because I don't know. I don't want to make this like a whole.
It's gonna be the longest episode so far.
Yeah,
which isn't saying much. This is episode 3, but
yeah, we'll go on. I can go on for hours, but when things are based on movie franchises like this, I feel like for me personally with this whole podcast thing, I have to really learn how to not jump around as much. But like going back to Bond, Daniel Craig did his final film, and then there was a lot of silence, and everyone was like, "What's next? What's next?" And then we found out that one day we all woke up and Amazon has acquired the rights to James Bond, and there was a big switch in studios from the people who have been doing it for forever. And shortly after that, the game came out, the trailer. So it's like, are there things like in the workings of like, did the people who are putting out the game, did they get told by a higher power like, step back, we will tell you when you are allowed to put this out? Or maybe it was a collaborative effort, like, hey, we're behind the scenes, there's a lot of silence on James Bond right now because we're working on closing out these deals. Once we announce that this studio shift has gone through, that would be a good time for you to put out this game because it's striking while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
So who knows? I know that Ballerina just came out, didn't just come out, but not too long ago. I hear that there's another John Wick spin-off movie coming out based on the character Stick from the 4th film, who you have no idea who that is. But I've heard rumors that is in the works. So maybe we'll find out when we are going to start getting stuff for that. Maybe it'll kind of coincide. Maybe, that'll line up and come out on similar timelines. I don't know. It's always, at the end of the day, while these amazing people create these games and you can feel and see their passion, at the end of the day, it is a business and business decisions get made. So who knows? Like it's all a matter of how much they actually have done and what's out there. Like for I remember when the Bond announcement came out, and then it was almost like twice a month I would go to IOI's website, and there would be ads on there like, hey, we're looking to hire people for this project 007. And then like we had conversations where I'm like, dude, this might be dead in the water. Like it just seems like it's not anything. And then all of a sudden they come out with this trailer, and it's like behind the scenes they were cracking away, they were doing it, and it didn't leak. And so who knows? Maybe there's more done here than we know. Maybe everything we've seen is it. And like now they're all, the day after this released, they're
crapping their pants, trying to get things together.
Who knows? I wish them all the best. I'll say this: take as much time as you need to make this game everything it should and could be.
Yeah. So I think that wraps up our entire conversation on this state of play from February 12th. I think a lot of awesome games were announced, a lot of cool new trailers for games that were previously announced were shown. I'm excited for a lot of it. And I think 2026 is shaping up to be a phenomenal year for gaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hopeful,
Yep.
A lot of cool stuff on the horizon that I am waiting for patiently. So hopefully we get more soon on all the things we're excited for, and hopefully you all out there get more stuff from the stuff you're excited for.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Rev Noir is, but it was in State of Play, and if you're pumped about that, tell us all about it, because didn't pique my interest, but I'd love to hear if you're, I'd love to hear your point of view. So again, please join us. And, that sounds a little like, like sales pitchy. We're hoping for interactions with everybody because that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Try and give us a reason to like these games. Like maybe your reason for liking a game is something that we didn't even think of, and then it kind of piques our interest more, and we dive deep into these titles that maybe we wouldn't have picked up in the first place just from the trailer alone.
Yeah.
I think these conversations, they kind of allow us to develop our tastes in games a little bit more, Like I'll say, even since we started this podcast about a week ago, I've already started looking into some games that wouldn't have been on my radar otherwise. Some stuff that I want to dig into and now talk about and engage with the people that are kind of part of that community already enjoying these types of games.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that I want to get into now just from this.
Yeah. And that's really what it is like, listen, we'd love to invite as many people as we can into this whole thing that we're doing. But at the end of the day, if we have 10 viewers and they're, super involved and engaging and commenting and giving us cool discussions and having good, enjoyable interactions, that's worth, more to me than 1,000 viewers who
don't say anything,
are just nameless and silent. If that's how you are and you want to just watch and enjoy, by all means. But we I can't stress enough how much we want to make this a not something that's ours, meaning mine and Mark's or the group that we have here doing this, not just ours, but all of ours, including you listening to this now. So
yeah. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to episode 3 of the Button Press podcast. If you like this kind of stuff and want to hear more, we release episodes weekly on Spotify, and then we release shorter content on places like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. So, once again, thank you so much for watching, and we will both see you in the next one.